Welcome to Award-Winning Photography Explained. This is a channel where we invite a photographer once a week and talk about an image that won them an award. We take a deep dive into that image, what inspired them, and what they got out of the competition. Today we have with us a very special guest. We have a blue-haired, wine-drinking, nature-loving, bunny-hugging, award-winning Canadian photographer, Tracy Munson. Now, Tracy spent quite some time traveling all over Canada in a tiny car with a large man, a tent, and 2 chihuahuas. And she has 25 years of experience working as a veterinary technician, and now her passion is pet photography. So welcome to the show, Tracy.
Hi, thank you.
So now you have got 10 accreditations with Professional Photographers of Canada. You are an MPA, which is Master of Photography Arts. You also served as a chair on PPOC, right? And you have got a number of national and international awards. You've got awards from the Animal Image Makers Competition, from WPE International Photography Awards, and many PPOC image salons. Correct?
That's right.
Now, this image that we're going to talk about, okay, is a very special image. But before we get into that, tell us a bit about yourself and how you really got interested in photography.
It actually started out for me with an iPhone 3GS. So this would have been, I don't know, probably 12 years ago. And there was a couple of factors. One was that I had just quit smoking. So I needed something to do with my hands. And at work, a lot of my coworkers smoked and we'd all go out for cigarette breaks together. So when other people would go outside, I couldn't go out with them. So I would just instead stay inside and edit photos on my phone just for something to do. And really the limitations of that first iPhone that was very low resolution and, the photos were really, really noisy and not sharp was kind of what got me started doing artistic edits and really, trying to make something out of these photos that kind of sucked. And after a year or so, I actually started having people ask to buy prints of some of those photos that I was posting on Instagram. And that was when I started to think, hey, there could be something to this.
Nice. You want to bring up, share your screen and bring up the amazing image?
Sure. So this is the image that I'm going to talk about today. This is called Modern Family. This one scored an excellence at nationals. I actually did win Best in Class for Animals that year, but with a different photo. But I prefer this one.
Yeah.
This one won Best in Class for Animals at the regionals, and it also won Best General Print and a couple of Judges' Choice Awards and stuff there, and it's won some awards in other competitions and stuff too. So it's done
Very
quite
nice.
well for me.
Very nice. From what I understand, is in 2020 you got a merit at the PPOC Atlantic Salon, and at the same time it was also the Judge's Choice and the Best in Class for Animals, and then you got, and it also helped you become the Photography Artist of the Year.
Yes.
And then in 2021, you got the silver at WPE International Photography Awards and the nationals at Professional Photography of Canada. You got an excellence in that. Now,
Yes.
this is an incredible image. It's like the way you have created depth. I'm assuming this is a composite because even though I heard you're great with animals, but getting them all together must have been like quite a job.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been safe,
Yeah.
especially for the little sugar gliders. That wouldn't
Nice.
have probably gone well.
Yeah, true. So tell me, what inspired you for this image? Was it like something you saw? Was it a brainstorming session with a client? Was this for a client, first of all?
Yes, this is for a client. So,
Right.
I mean, that was really my inspiration
Mm-hmm.
was, she had all these pets and she wanted to get photos done of all of them. But then when I was kind of like, hey, what if we could do one photo with all of them? And she, I don't think up until it happened, up until I delivered it to her, I don't think she really believed that it could be done. So,
Nice.
so yeah, that was it. So I kind of knew going into it, I had a plan, not necessarily to do the portrait on the wall behind them and stuff, but just to, do a portrait that would include all of her pets.
Nice.
So if, do you want me to show you now some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pieces
Tell
that
us
would, yeah.
what went into the planning and how did you actually plan the different elements and bring it all together? How did you shoot this?
Well, the first thing was I planned to take my tripod, but I forgot it. And having it would have made this a little bit easier when it came to compositing because I was planning to have the camera set up on the tripod and not be moving it
Mm-hmm.
in between shots. And obviously, there was quite a bit of moving around in between some of these animals and stuff, but I forgot my tripod. So fortunately, I did have a monopod in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to mark the spot on the floor with a piece
Mm-hmm.
of tape where my monopod needed to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything wasn't perfectly lined up because obviously the angle changed a little bit from photo to photo, but it made it, it still wasn't too bad because I
Yeah.
was able to at least stay in the same spot. So you can see here, kind of in the film strip along the bottom, a lot of different parts that went into it, a lot of outtake shots, and these are a lot of different versions of the edit. Rooster, 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 cat.
So you
This
had
uh,
you
this
had
younger yellow. Sorry.
I said you had assistants there.
Yeah, my partner Graham usually comes along and assists on my
Okay.
sessions.
Yeah.
And then this is the owner. I don't want to pop up those pictures and show her, but
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
this shows the ones of the sugar gliders.
Yeah.
She's sitting right there
Uh-huh.
and feeding them little treats and stuff to try to keep them on the arm of the chair to
Right.
get shots like that were what we ultimately used. So I shot this with a fairly wide lens because I wanted there to be a little bit of distortion to make those sugar gliders like bigger right at the edge of the arms of the couch.
Uh-huh.
Because otherwise, I mean, they would have, if I had shot, well, I also couldn't really shoot from any further back just because of the constraints of how the house was. But yeah, so anyway, that's some of the pieces that went into it. And then this was the initial version. This is what I delivered to the client. She has a large, I think, canvas print
Mm-hmm.
of this on her wall. And I mean, she wanted it showing, the room, her home in the background. So this was what I delivered to her. And then when competition time came around, I spoke with, as I often do, I always seek some feedback from other photographers I respect. And so I showed it to Victoria West. And she was like, it's a really cool shot, but it's just not enough,
Mm-hmm.
that background and stuff. So I was like, yeah, and I knew that. I knew the background wasn't going to fly, but I'm very, very lazy and I didn't want to bother removing it. So anyway, she said that. So then I removed the background and I replaced it with this is just a background I like painted in Photoshop from scratch
Mm-hmm.
with some brushes. So I did this and then I showed that to her and she was still kind of like, eh. And I showed my partner Graham, who's also, highly critical. So he was like, yeah, it's not enough. And then I guess I had this idea for a while of doing something with a picture on the wall behind the pets,
Mm-hmm.
based on a picture I actually have of my own two cats. I have a a print of them sitting on a bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hung that print above the bookshelf, and then it would always make me so happy when they'd like sit up on the bookshelf like with the portrait. So then Graham suggested, it was actually his idea, I think, that, well, why don't you put a portrait behind? So again, because I'm very lazy, I just took the same picture and put it on the wall behind them. And then again, Graham and Victoria were both like, no, you gotta make it a different picture. And then that's how we got to here. And then the frame is actually just like a little 5x7 frame that I have in my house that I photographed, cut out, and did some like warping, because it's actually like a fairly thick frame, to change the dimensions to make it fit like this.
No, the frame really adds depth to the image. It really gives that feeling of, that there is more to it than just a flat wall. Now, do you remember what equipment you used, what settings you used? Was it same for all the pets? Was it different?
I was trying to keep it more or less the same. I shot with fairly flat light, because I knew doing composite, I mean, if there was harsh shadows and stuff, it was just going to make things even more of a nightmare trying to put it all together. So I just had a big like octabox kind of on either side. It looks like I shot at 32 millimeters, and I tried to keep that. I think I had that actually like marked on the camera and tried to keep that, like if you see up in the top left corner there, they're all at 32 millimeters. So I tried to keep that constant throughout. And like I say, I was shooting from the piece of tape on the floor, so that it was fairly easy to bring it all together. So yeah, they were all the same settings, same light, same everything. And then at the end, I painted in some of these shadows by hand to give it some of that depth.
To pull off a composite like this, you really need to know your lighting and your perspectives. You need to know your software really well, and you need to know what you're trying to achieve. And you have done an amazing job of all of that. Now, do you want to talk us through your post-processing, or how do you actually achieve these with different elements?
So yeah, I mean, the initial putting them all together was really just a matter of, bringing them up in Photoshop like this, lining them up, and then painting in the other animal. So let's see how well. So you can see these don't exactly line up perfectly because not having it on a tripod. So first thing I would do is see if Photoshop will just auto align these on its own. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it will not. So, but you don't know unless you try.
True.
So that's pretty good. So now, basically, I would just put, I think it's probably better to put this one on the bottom. I would put a black mask on this one, and then I can just basically paint the cat in the spot that I know it is at. Where's my cat?
Oh, look at that.
And then, it's not exactly perfect, but then I can always, clip adjustment layers onto that to make the lighting match perfectly and stuff. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how.
And do you use a Wacom for this, or do you use a tablet?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So here, like, I would probably clip a levels layer to that and see if I can get the shadows. There you go. So that's a little bit closer to a match. And then, it's just a case of fiddling a little bit with the light and everything to get it perfectly matched. So basically that's what I did to add all the animals in. And And then, of course, when I put them on this background, I already had to have a selection of all of this anyway.
Yeah.
So that made it easy enough. Having that selection made it easy enough to paint the shadows
Yeah.
in behind them on the layer underneath the
Uh-huh.
selection
Uh-huh.
so that the shadows aren't going on the animals, just behind them.
Right.
And same with putting the picture on the wall behind them. It's just easy to slip it between those two layers, and then that's how it is.
So you had to do this twice because of the image inside the frame and the outside.
Yeah, and it actually turned out too, like I didn't even have another picture on the couch of this dog because he was a pretty young dog and he was kind of, excited and out of control. And that was just such a like perfect pose. He sat there, it was perfectly sharp, he looked happy. So I was kind of like done.
Yeah.
I wasn't at that time planning for the one on the wall. So I actually had
Hmm.
to like find an outside shot of him from later in the session and take his head and put it on. That's probably to me the thing I like the least about this. I could probably do a better job of that now, maybe warping that head into place a little bit better. But
Yeah.
that's my one thing that I still look at now, and I'm like, oh, that head's just not quite right.
Well, a lot of photography is about MacGyvering the, image into place and finding solutions for problems that you come up at the situation. I think a great deal of that goes into the picture. I know the gear is not that important. It's like about 10% of the picture. 90% is how you create the picture in your mind and physically.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's what I kind of love about photography and editing. Like, I really enjoy that part of photography. And in
Mhm.
fact, I'm probably a better editor than I am a photographer, really. I'm kind of, as this shows, I'm kind of like a lazy photographer. It's sitting at my computer later that I'll, bring it all together and really make something of it.
Mhm.
Um, and that's probably the part I enjoy the most. I mean, I enjoy being with the animals, but
Yeah.
um,
So your 25 years of working with animals probably helps you in a great deal dealing with different kinds of animals, right?
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I worked in vet clinics for about 10 years, and then I worked in shelters in Toronto for another 15 or so. And so, I mean, I really, I've handled all different kinds of animals,
Yeah.
from tiny little mice up to monitor lizards and
Yeah.
all sorts of crazy stuff.
Right.
So,
Are you still in
so
Toronto? Yeah.
no, no, no. Now I live in a town of about 100 people in New Brunswick.
Oh, yeah. Must have been quite a change.
Yeah, but it's been awesome. I've lived here for just over 4 years now and just absolutely
Very
love it.
nice. Very nice. Now, tell me, entering competitions, how has this helped you in personally in your photography as well as professionally in your pet photography business?
It's helped me, first of all, to kind of overcome that imposter syndrome that I think most of us have, especially if we're self-taught, didn't go to school, don't have any sort of degrees in
Mm-hmm.
photography or anything even related to it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I had pretty bad imposter syndrome in the beginning. And then, I joined PPOC, just started to see if I could do it, if I could get accredited. You start having the odd person ask to order prints and stuff, and your friends and family are all like, "Oh, you're so amazing" and everything, but you don't really know until you sort of reach out to your peer group and
Mm-hmm.
find out if other photographers actually think
Yeah.
that your work is any good. So I did that. I got my first accreditation. And then the first year that I entered regionals, I guess was 2016. I entered the regionals just in Ontario. This was in Ontario, just thinking, I'll be happy if I get a couple of images accepted. And I was away on vacation, actually. I was out here in New Brunswick on vacation when I got the message for that I had won the Tibor Horvath Award of Excellence that they have in Ontario, which is the person with 4 images all accepted with the highest score who doesn't have their CPA or MPA yet
Uh-huh.
gets that award. So I was like, wow, I got all 4 images were accepted. I think I had 2 merits and 2 accepted, and I won that award. And so I was feeling pretty good about that. So I took a big leap and entered nationals that year, and actually ended up winning a best in class for pictorial scenic that year. So that went a pretty long way towards making me feel like my work was probably up to professional standards.
Right, right. Now, I understand you have also been a chair at PPOC, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
So I've been on the regional board for the past few years now, in a few different roles, and now I'm actually the Atlantic director.
okay. So, tell us, for people who don't know, people who are watching this for the first time, what really is Professional Photography of Canada? What kind of association? Just in a couple of lines, what is PPOC? What is how do they help? And what is regionals and what is nationals?
So, Professional Photographers of Canada is a Canadian organization for professional photographers. We have regional and national image competitions every year. And that's a chance for us to enter our images, have them judged by trained judges, get feedback on them, and win awards that can help, in marketing our businesses or just in making us feel a lot better about where we're at.
Right. Right.
But it's a lot more than that. There's also a lot of educational resources, webinars. There's a national conference every year. A lot of the regions have their own conventions. I mean, of course, things have been a little bit off the last couple of years because of COVID restrictions, but there's a lot of educational resources, and more than anything, probably just the camaraderie and the support that you can get from being in a group with other professional photographers who are actually so helpful. And that was something I don't think I really expected. Like, I expected everybody to be really competitive and stuff. And I mean, of course, competition is competitive.
Right.
But people are also really helpful. Like, if you go, there's a Facebook group for our members where we can ask for feedback on images we're thinking of entering into image competition or accreditation. And so many members will be generous with their time and knowledge and, give you great feedback on things you could do to improve your images and stuff. Like, it's really such a supportive group, and that's probably what I think the most value is in.
Now, if somebody's just starting out, looking at creating an interesting composites, working with animals, what kind of advice would you give them? How can they really improve themselves, their photography, and is it like a worthwhile business to get into?
Well, I mean, I think so. I think you do have to have that real affinity for animals. I don't think you necessarily have to have the amount of professional animal handling experience that I have to be successful as a pet photographer. But a lot of the pet photographers that I see out there doing well do have some kind of background as, groomers, trainers. A lot of them do have some background in animal care, or just have always had a great interest in it. So knowing a bit about animal behavior, whatever subject you're trying to work with. I mean, working with a cat is very different from working with a dog, which is different from working with rodents, and nothing's worse than working with those little sugar gliders. They are really, really fast and not at all interested in cooperating.
Yeah. Now, if people want to follow you, they want to reach you, what's the best way? Do you have like a website? Are you on socials?
Yep, I'm Tracy Munson Photography. That's where all of my pet photography is, and that's my website at .com or .ca. It's my Instagram handle. It's my Facebook page, and I think my LinkedIn. Everywhere you can find me, Tracy Munson Photography. And then my landscape and nature work is focused on Canada. And again, Facebook page, Instagram, website.
Now, I'll definitely put all the links in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge, your experience. If you liked today's presentation, remember to subscribe, remember to like the video, and once a week, every Thursday, a new episode is going to come out where we're going to interview photographers just like Tracy who talk about an award-winning image. So do not forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you.